Hey guys, it's Josh Rossi. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to bring back a lot of the detail from the shadows in this image. Let me show you an after image, what I've already done. You can see here there's a lot of awesome detail and the colors matching up really well. I'm going to show you a really quick way of doing this. So first thing you need to do is make an adjustment layer, a curves adjustment layer. Oops, I made it a levels adjustment layer. Make a curves adjustment layer. And you're going to bring up the midtones right here just a tiny bit until you get the amount of detail that you want in the shadows. So there's a few things you could adjust here. You could adjust the shadows, and that is going to make everything really flat. Or you could adjust just the highlights, and that's going to create a lot of artifacting, which you don't want. Artifacting is just where you get all this, let me show you here. You get all this sort of graininess, but it's all colored, like green and blue and yellow and all that. So that's really nasty. You don't want that. So we're going to bring that back down and once again bring up just the midtones until we get the detail level that we want. Now there's still a problem here that the highlights are really bright and just blown out. And that's because this line is still going straight up and over, so it's really harsh. To fix that, you just click right there in the middle and create another point and make that curve a little bit more curved, I guess, towards the highlights. So let me show you before and after. So it's really slight, but right here everything's blown out, and right here there's a lot more detail in the highlights there. And same with over here, it's adding just a little bit of brightness, which we want. And it's a lot more smooth too, which is nice. Okay, so now next thing we need to do is invert this selection, because the original image, there's a lot of detail over here that we want to keep. We just want the shadows to have detail. So to do that, you can just hit Command I, which basically turns off this layer. See this? I'm just clicking it on and off and it's not doing anything. So what you want to do now is reveal what is underneath that blackness. So what we're going to do is paint with white. Go to your brush, hit B on the keyboard, and I'm going to paint with about 40%. Make my brush a little bit bigger here, or something like that. Now what you're doing is just painting in the shadows, and that's going to reveal the adjustments that you just did on that layer. See, that's adding in some really nice detail. And don't worry if you are bleeding over like that, because I'll show you how to fix that in a minute. So right now we're just going to go to all the areas where where we want detail, and just paint in just like that. And the reason my brush is so big is because if it's small like this, it's obviously going to create this, just an obvious line that you can see. So that's why I keep my brush pretty wide on this. Okay, so just paint in where you want some more detail. I'm going to paint in a little bit more over here. Just create a little bit more detail. Okay, so that's looking pretty good for right now. Alright, so now if there's places that are a little bit too bright for you that you've maybe messed up on, you can go through with your black brush, so hit X on the keyboard, and you can, instead of revealing certain parts, you can hide certain parts. So see that? It's making it a little bit darker. I'm actually going to keep that, make it a little bit bright right there, and then that's a little bit too dark. Same thing right over there. And this part where we bled onto this rock right here, we're just going to be really precise and hide that brightness that we just put on there. Okay. Alright, so that's looking a lot better. There's also a little bit of brightness up here we're going to get rid of. You can just click the layer on and off just to see the certain areas where you've maybe messed up on. Okay, for now it's looking good. And I'm just going to really quickly run through this and show you the next thing we're going to do. So sometimes when you brighten up the shadows, it's going to be sort of a dull color. And right now you can't really tell. It looks, to me at least, it looks normal. Thing is, once we add in some color, it's going to look a lot different. And whenever you're brightening up shadows, you also want to add in some color to the shadows. So we're going to create another curves adjustment layer above that. And now we're going to be working with these channels, these three channels, red, green, blue. Go to your red channel, and same thing. We're not going to adjust the highlights or the shadows, just the midtones. Just bring those up a tiny bit, like that. And now go to your greens, and the greens is going to make this look really awesome. Bring that up a little bit, and same with blues. Blues you want to do just barely, not too much. Okay. So now you can see here, before it's looking sort of dull now. Then the after, you can see there's a lot more color, especially in the shadows over here. it's adding some really nice color in those shadows. So we're going to do the same thing that we did on this layer, which is invert it. So hit Command I, because you don't want all the color to come over to this area, because this is, you know, the color's looking okay. What you want to do is just affect the shadows once again. So go to your brush and you're going to paint with white, so hit X on the keyboard to switch colors. And same thing, I'm actually going to paint at about 100% opacity on this because the color was really slight. So just painting like that, and this you can be more, you don't have to be as precise with. Just painting the rocks over here. Okay. Alright, before, after, before, after. Alright, looks really nice. So there you go, guys. That is how you create detail in the shadows. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Check out more tutorials on compositeplanet.com, and I will see you again soon.